Hello and welcome to Pearls of Paradise. My name is Courtney and I'm coming to you from Parma, Ohio, where I live with my husband and all of our yarn. Today is Thursday, June 18th. And I'm really glad that you're joining me today. Welcome if you are a new friend or an old friend. I am really glad that you've chosen to spend a little bit of time with me chatting about knitting and books and life and whatever other crafts I get up to. Just realized there is a craft that I left in the other room, but we'll talk about that later. Anyways, big welcome. Thursday. I don't normally record on Thursdays. I normally record, edit, upload, do all the things every other Friday. I am trying something new just to see how this goes. I now have Thursday mornings available to film. So we're going to try this. We'll see how it all works out. You probably will not notice much of a difference, but we'll see how this goes. I am still planning to upload every Friday afternoon. So I'm not sure if I'm going to do 3 o'clock or 4 o'clock on Fridays. I think I've been doing 3 o'clock, so we'll just go with that. Okay. I also am running the Giant Mini Mal 2026. If you've been around, you already know about this. If you're new, the brief synopsis: basically, use your scraps, use your minis, use your leftovers that equate to less than 50 grams in the skeiner ball when you begin the project. And enter it in there. That's about it. You can look on my Ravelry group page for more details. You can also check my Instagram page. There is a pinned post at the top with those details. Full disclosure, I have an Instagram. I have not been on there in, I think, a couple of months now, 6 weeks or something. I am trying to do a little bit of a social media detox to see. It's just a whole thing personally. So I'm not really planning to be on Instagram much anymore at all. So if you are trying to get a hold of me over there, that is probably not the best avenue, as I am not checking that. You can get a hold of me on Ravelry. I also was experiencing some issues with my podcast email where people were emailing me and I wasn't receiving those. That seems to be fixed. So you can also email me at pearlsofparadise@gmail.com. And I am so sorry to any of you who did email me, whose emails just did not get through. I'm not sure what was going on, but I do believe it's resolved now. So Ravelry here on YouTube or that podcast email. Okay, is that all the admin? Oh, also the super duper loosey goosey garment mal is also going on. This is not a finished object. This is just chatter. If you are working on a garment, and we are defining garment as like sweaters, vests, pants, t-shirts, tank tops, things that do not count are accessories. So basically, if you look on Ravelry and it's included as a garment, you're good to go. If it's included as an accessory, like a sock, a hat, that doesn't work for that one. But it's just a chatter thread. So if you are working on any kind of garment, pop that in. For both knit-alongs, I do draw prizes at the end of each quarter. So I will be drawing second quarter prizes at the end of June. So pop your entries in there. And if you're popping them in mine and you used stash yarn, you should also check out the Yarn Stash Smash hosted by Karen of Bobblehead Knits and Mandy Vaughn of Mandy Vaughn Knits and Diary of a Sweater Knitter. They are hosting that in their separate channel groups. And for that one, you're just using your stash and entering projects. So I just entered one this past week, which is almost a nice segue into what we're going to talk about. I do briefly just want to mention what I'm wearing today. This is I believe it's called the My First Knit Summer Vest, I think. Everything will be linked down below. This is a pattern by Marley Bird. I knit this a long time ago, and you can find the details over on my Ravelry page. I will link it down below, but it is a nice little gradient piece with a really fun, it's hard to see on the screen, but a fun wrap stitch pattern. Okay, I've been just blabbering for more than 5 minutes. It's time to get into it because I have a finished object today, which is very exciting. This has been on my needles for over a year, and she is done. She is done. Look at her. So I'd like you all to meet Celeste. Celeste is what I named her. Celeste was made from the Cloud Pillow pattern by Matthew Schrank. And this was in the book 60 Knitted Toys or something like that. Again, if you head to my Ravelry page, you'll see all of the details. I started this May 23rd of last year, 2025. I knit this with size US 8 5mm needles, and I used rescue yarn, which was, I love this yarn in the colorway Graybeard, and I used all of that. The whole skein of rescue yarn. Rescue yarn, in case you're new, is yarn that people have bought and they don't want. Usually they're not super avid knitters or crocheters, or sometimes people buy yarn and literally will throw it away when they're done with a project, which, as someone who likes scraps and doesn't like waste, I don't understand. So that's where I come in and rescue the leftovers, the scraps, whatever, and use it to make something lovely because, you know, it deserves to be used. So anyways, that was this, and I used every last little bit of this yarn. Yeah, every last little bit. I was nervous. I was very nervous that I was going to run out. I did not. I had exactly enough. And then the embroidery is also just acrylic. This is all 100% acrylic yarn. Teeny tiny balls of leftovers that I had, like super small, that you couldn't use for anything else, for her little face. So let's talk about the pattern. Oh, the yarn used, I did weigh her before I stuffed her, 135 grams out. So that's a win. I have not weighed her since I stuffed her. She is big. She is chunky. I absolutely love it. Okay, so I had talked on a previous episode about the way that the pattern is written. And technically this side is the back. But I don't know. You seam the whole thing, but you seam one half to the center strip thing first. I don't want to say too much because I don't want to give the pattern away. Obviously it's in a book, so it's paid for pattern. But once I seamed this piece on, it laid nice and flat. And with acrylic, it's hard to block. I just didn't want to mess with that. So I thought, well, this is fine. I'll just go ahead and embroider her face on this side. And I kind of liked that direction better than this one anyways. I mean, I guess it doesn't really matter. Unfortunately, my seaming ended up being much nicer on this side. But whatever, it doesn't really matter. She's very cute and I love it. So the issue that I had talked about is one of these sides. I don't remember which one you do first. I think you do this side first. And then for the back side, it says to knit as the front, but just switch these two bumps, like the placement. Well, if you look at this cloud, clearly this bump and this bump are not the same. They are not the same size. So if you only flip these two, okay, then this tiny piece would line up with this bigger piece, and that doesn't work. So I had talked about this on a previous episode. I had a couple people say, this isn't even worth it. Just rip it out and forget it. Which is not really how I roll. And it really wasn't that difficult. I decided to try what they said, just in case, like, sometimes you have to trust the pattern and it comes together and makes sense. So I did initially try doing what they said, and it did not work out. I did not get very far. Basically, I knit this bump and this one and then flipped my work to see if it would line up, and it was nowhere near. And I was like, well, I was correct. I was correct. The pattern is wrong. I did put that in my notes on the pattern page because I looked through other people's notes and comments. I looked for errata. There wasn't any for this particular pattern, but that was an issue. It really wasn't that hard. It let me use a little bit of brain power, but it was just a little bit. It wasn't too bad. So anyways, otherwise, so if you're willing to use just a little bit of brain power, just a little bit of, okay, I know that this isn't going to line up, and just take a minute and think about it, you can easily make the necessary adjustments and have yourself a very cute cloud pillow. She's very, very squishy. I have no idea how much stuffing is in here, but I love her. So this is Celeste. My friend Jennifer named her. And yeah, that is what I've got. I am so excited to have a new friend and a new finished object all in one. So that is the only finished object I have today. That was what my random number generator had picked for my first week. If you're new, actually, I've only been doing this not very long. I used to do random number generator every day to pick my project of the day. And I have since changed, and I'm letting random number generator pick a project for me to work on for a week. And this was what it chose for the first week. Now, did I stop after the first week? No, I did not, because the seaming alone took me 2 days. I am not a fast seamer by any means, and it is not my favorite. So let's talk about why I did not finish that in week 1 and finished it in week 2. The second thing that random number generator picked for me to work on for week 2, you've seen this quite a bit lately. This is my Linus by Annett Cordes, and that is, let me get my notes. That is being knit on a US size 4, 3.5 millimeter needle, and I'm using Baah yarn La Jolla in the colorway May of 2020. This is what I have left so far, and I love the Linus. I love this pattern. This is my second time knitting it. It is a free pattern on Ravelry. It is excellent. Basically, you make this as large or as small as you want. You go till you run out of yarn. You could make this scrappy. You can do anything with this. It's just a garter little shawl. I mean, you could always do many skeins and knit this larger. You could very easily change your needle size and use a heavier weight yarn. This is fingering weight. But I have knit one before, and I wear that a lot. And it's coming together. Like, you can already kind of see how it's going to fit. This yarn is so pretty. Every single stitch is like a fun little confetti surprise. So this is what it had picked for me for week 2. And if you've been around, you know this is also my take-along project right now. So it's getting a lot of work anyway. So I was how many times am I going to say so this episode? Oh my gosh. There's Mario helping us out. And I knit a fair bit, especially because every couple of rows, it gets a little bit longer. And that's what it picked for week 2. And I thought, well, I would have been working on this anyways. I will still make this my primary focus project, but I really want this cloud pillow done. We need a finished object. So that's what I did. no regrets. I will continue to work on this as my focus project today and then switch gears tomorrow. But I've already, since I'm recording on Thursday, I've already chosen what project I'll start working on tomorrow, which I'll just tell you now. There's no reason to wait. So my Friday to Thursday project for next week, random number generator chose the Ribbed Tank by Mary Lynn Patrick out of the Knit Simple magazine Spring Summer 2020. I cast this on just back on May 3rd. This has not been on the needles very long, and I am using a US size 3 3.25 millimeter needle and a US size 4 3.5 millimeter needle. I'm knitting the size XXL, and the yarn I'm using is Lion brand True Boo in the colorway Celery. So just a refresher, this is what I'll be working on next week. So we've got our little sea turtle hanging out ready to track our progress. We will see how far I get on this. Yeah, I would love to get this done this summer, but this is all I have done. I don't know that will happen, but I am glad it will be getting some more work in. So that is where we are. A little nervous about the size XXL. I feel like sizing is hard. Sizing is very hard. I have a larger bust, but a very short torso, very petite little shoulders. So sometimes like armpits and things end up very, very low because I just have a large bust that needs accommodated for, but then there's not much else. So anyway, not sure how that will come out, but we will see. We will make it work. We will style it in a way that will be cute. It'll be fine. All right, next up, okay, I don't have things in a very good order today. In my beautiful, lovely project box here, I have the Garter Squish. We're gonna put the box down. I am almost ready to add in the next color. I did not get very far on this week. I am trying to do a row a day. I have not done my row for today yet, but I only got this much done. This is kind of the Garter Squish by Stephen West, kind of not. I cast on a different number of stitches. I'm planning on binding off different. This is already barely a pattern, whatever. I am holding Lion Brand Homespun in various colors, double with various leftovers of white and off-white and ivory yarns. It's all 100% acrylic, and that's as much as I got done. Why? Why did I get so little done? Because we had a heat wave. We had a huge heat wave right after my last recording, and this is not comfy when it is 90 degrees out to have on your lap, and it's getting quite large. And I just could not deal. I just could not deal. So it did not get as much done on it as I would have liked. This week has been a little bit cooler, so I've been trying to do 1 to 2 rows a day. Some days I do 1, some days I do 2, just to kind of catch up. But there's no deadline on this. I am planning to donate it when I am done. So as long as it is out before the cold hits, like before November, that's all I care about. I would love to get this box out of my house, though. It is not the most attractive, but I don't have a project bag that really works for this because it's massive. So anyway, that is my very little progress on my Garter Squish. And I'm knitting that on Is it a size 15 needle? Well, I thought I had my note here, but I guess I don't. So I think it's a size 15, US 15 needle, but I'm not sure. Again, my Ravelry page will be linked. All the details will be there. And then, last but not least, summer solstice is Sunday, which is also Father's Day here in the US, so big day. And summer solstice means a new cast on. I really debated on what I wanted to do, and what I don't have on my needles right now that I would love to have on my needles are just some vanilla socks. Some plain, don't have to think about them, go, 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 vanilla socks. That's all I want. That is all I want. Especially because once that Linus shawl is done, I will need to have a new take-along project ready to go. And seeing that it's June, and June means June 25th is 6 months till Christmas, we're going to go ahead and start my Christmas socks for this year. I don't think I did Christmas socks last year, but I want a new pair this year. And these are Christmas, but honestly, they would work just fine for winter. So I've already chosen the yarn. I have not decided if I'm going to do a contrasting heel, toe, and cuff, or if I'm just going to knit this straight through. This is the Flat Sock by Raylana Garn 4F Christmas. I think this is in German or something. The color is 2501, so very exciting colorway name. It does show you how they'll knit up, so those look fun. Again, I know it's summer. I should probably be knitting like a fun, bright, summery sock, but that's okay. That's okay. This is 75%. It says virgin wool, but it also says superwash, so I'm not really sure what that means. And 25% polyamide. I don't know. It looks like the English translation says virgin wool, but in the German part, the word superwash is written as superwash, so I have no idea. But anyways, that will be my summer solstice cast on. And that is all I have for the knitting. I know, not much. That's what happens when Random Number Generator picks one of your predetermined every week projects to knit on. But we do have a finished object, and that alone is so exciting. You guys can't really see her there. She's fallen over anyway. That's fine. So if you were just joining me for the knitting, thank you for joining me. I'm sorry this one was so short. I do have another craft though that goes into life stuff. So if you are interested in another craft, guess you'll have to wait for life stuff. But really quick, we are going to talk about reading, which I also don't have much of at all. I have really only been reading a couple of things. I did finish The Aftermyth by Tracy Wolff. That was a middle grade fantasy. I started that on June 4th, and I finished that on June 9th. I read that in print. It was 448 pages, copyright 2026, and I gave it 5 stars. I thought it was really, really good. And don't let the fact that it's a middle grade book, make you think that it's not worth reading. I know that some people have feelings about reading children's books. I think that it's amazing. Just because it's written for children does not mean that you're too old to enjoy it. Children's books are for everyone. And I really liked this. I am not going to lie. There were scenes in this book that terrified me. Terrified me. More than most books written for adults do. I think it's just a me thing. But I really enjoyed it. There are these kids and they're at this school. It's a little Harry Potter-esque, except the whole thing is like Greek mythology. So they get divided into different houses of like gods and goddesses. And I don't know much about Greek mythology at all, to be honest, but this gave me a little bit of a rudimentary understanding, just a teeny bit. And I really enjoyed it. It follows mainly one girl named Penny, right? That's her name. Pretty sure it's Penny. And she thinks that she should be in one house and may or may not end up there. This is the first book of a series, and there is clearly something special about Penny, but she doesn't know what it is, and I still feel like we don't really know either. But there's definitely something special about her, and I cannot wait to see where this series goes. The characters were great. They were super lovable. And it had some really great themes about self-discovery and, you know, finding out who you really are, and that you don't necessarily have to be the person that everyone told you that you were. And it's really good. Give it a read. I'm not normally a huge fantasy person, but I really liked this. Although I say that, and I feel like I'm starting to become a fantasy person. Just like cozy fantasy and apparently children's fantasy. Okay. Next, I am currently reading, that was the only thing I finished. Currently reading Where the Wildflowers Grow by Tara Shelton Harris. And this one is copyright 2026. It is a contemporary literary fiction. I started this June 10th. And I'm obviously reading it in print. It is 400. Here I have written 450 pages, but I think that is wrong. I need to fix that. It is 471 pages. I need to fix that. I need to give myself credit for all of them. And I am just over halfway done. I heard the author interviewed on the Friends in Fiction podcast, which is, I have been listening to that one on and off for many years since it started back in 2020. And I heard the author interviewed on there, was really intrigued by this book. It sounded really good, and it is really good. Last week I was just tired and didn't really have the brain space for a literary fiction. So that is why I did not make a ton of progress. But then yesterday I read over 100 pages and I am devouring this. So I'm hoping to finish this in the next few days. The cover is gorgeous. It is a lovely book. So it follows, I don't want to give too much away. Okay. It follows a woman who we will call Lee. And Lee is given a second chance at life that she never thought that she would get. And Lee has been scarred. She has been bruised. She has had a rough life. And this follows her as she learns to trust again, learns to love again, and basically learns to let her guard down and let people in after, you know, while she's hiding all these secrets and things. And she ends up on this flower farm. And I don't want to say anything else. The book takes place mainly in Alabama. So I know some people are doing, which I think is really fun, like a road trip kind of summer read where they're picking different states and books to read from those states. So if you need an Alabama book, which I think would be so fun, and I kind of want to do that maybe next year and do like a book from each state. But if you need an Alabama book, here you go. So that's all I'm going to say about this. It is really lovely. The writing is phenomenal. Phenomenal. And I'm still reading, what is it? Planning Perfect by Haley Neal. It is an LGBTQIA plus romance, and it's YA. I started that June 1st. I'm reading it digitally. That is my at-work book. It is 370 pages long, copyright 2023. So I am a little bit of a chatterbox in case you have not figured that out. And so I'm not getting a whole lot of this read at work. Although I got a decent amount read last night. So sometimes in the evenings, I have some more time for that. But that's what I'm reading right now. I will update once I have more to share on that one. And that is it for knitting and reading. Let's move into life stuff. So the past, let me just preface. I am so happy with my new job. I am really enjoying it. I work with a lot of really lovely people. I am enjoying getting to know our patrons, and I'm really enjoying it. I really enjoy the space that I'm in now. For those of you who don't know, I work at a library. I was at my last library for just weeks shy of a decade, and I started at a new library that I'm on week four there. And I am really enjoying it. But oh, my friends, I am so tired. I am so tired, which just comes with the territory of learning a new job. My schedule is quite different from what it was at my old job. It's an adjustment. It is a huge adjustment. And learning how life looks right now and trying to just figure all of that out. You know, if you've ever started a new job, or like my husband said, I changed everything about my life in the span of like 8 weeks. Literally changed so much, except for pretty much who I'm married to and where I live. Just my whole life, my whole structure has changed, and I'm getting used to that, which is also why there's not as much knitting, not as much reading. Last week and this week, I've just been tired and navigating all of that. We were in the parade for the city where my library is located. That was very fun and very exciting. Our summer reading theme this year, we are following the ALA, the American Library Association's like big summer reading theme, which is Unearth the Story. It's a dinosaur paleontology theme, which is super fun. My supervisor, oh my gosh, it was so hot the day of the parade. So hot. Like the heat index was well into the 90s. And he wore one of those inflatable T-Rex costumes for the entire parade route. People loved it. I don't know how he survived. It was so hot. I walked in the parade and handed out candy. We had like a whole little Indiana Jones skit thing that some of our folks were doing. And it was a really good time, and it made me really feel bonded and part of the team, which was really, really nice. And I had a blast. That also completely wore me out. Like it took me a few days to recover from that just because it was so hot, and yeah, it was a really long day, but it was super fun. And then let me go grab my other craft. This is my other life thing that I did. Also, I've been gaming, you know, if you're around. I play Pokemon Go, Pokopia, Disney Dreamlight Valley. I'm really into Tomodachi Life these days. So I've been doing the video game thing as well. Those days when my brain just can't function enough to read or knit or anything, that's what I do. Because I can still keep a little engagement, but kind of also turn off my brain. So let me go grab my other craft, And that will take us right to our pocket of delight. So hang on just a second, friends. Okay, so my pocket of delight this week. I am loving my new job, but I dearly, dearly miss so many of my former coworkers. Hang on just a second. The wind is getting really crazy. Okay. Sorry about that. I had my dining room window open and the wind just picked up and started blowing things over. I have a dress form in my dining room that wears my hand knits and stuff sometimes. And it just blew that right over. So we have closed that window for now. Okay. Anyways, I dearly miss so many of my coworkers. Library people are truly the best people. Please go support your local library. Literally walking through the door, signing up for a library card, checking something out, even if you don't read it, just check it out and return it. All of that goes to help your library, and library people are truly amazing. So I've missed so many of my coworkers, and I am working with one of them now. She had moved over to the library where I currently am a couple months before I did. So that's been really lovely. But several of us got together, I hosted, and we are doing a craft club. And there are 4 of us, and it is so fun. So this past Sunday was our first one, and I planned and provided the craft. We painted flower pots. I will insert a picture of all 4 of ours here. They are so indicative of our different personalities. But this is mine. You know, I love the neons. I love the bright colors. This thing, it's so day glow. I was inspired by roller rink carpet. Do you know what I'm talking about? The 90s, early 2000s. Our local skate station still has it, but that practically the black light carpet, the glow in the dark carpet, that kind of thing. And then I just added this sweet little detail on the bottom of the saucer as a little Easter egg kind of thing. And that was my pocket of delight. We had so much fun. It was great. It was nice to catch up. And it's fun now too, because they're not my coworker. Well, one of them is still my coworker. But they're friends, and that's how I feel about the majority of my former coworkers. They're not coworkers, they're friends. So that was my pocket of delight for this week, was getting to see them and hang out with them. And yeah, it's just been a really great time. It's been a really great time. I'm trying to think if anything happened the weekend previous to that. I don't think so. Did we do anything? Oh yes! Oh my gosh! I almost forgot. We went to the big Ohio Book Con on Sunday the 7th, maybe? Whatever that Sunday was. And that was a blast. I will pop a picture in. I did get to meet Sarah Beth Durst. She did sign my copy of The Spell Shop. She is, oh my goodness, she is so kind and gracious and lovely and joyful. And meeting her, I completely understand why her books radiate light and joy, because she as a person radiates light and joy. So that was fun. We bought a lot of books from, all except for The Spell Shop, were from indie authors. So I'm very excited to read through those. You guys will see those as I read them. I will talk about them once I make it through my massive pile of library books over there. And I do, in fact, think this is where we end things. I don't have anything else to share today, but I hope that over the next couple of weeks until we meet again, that you have time to do some things that bring you joy, whether that is going swimming or camping or painting flower pots or making friendship bracelets, knitting, crocheting, whatever that may be. I hope that you find some time to do something that brings you joy in your little corner of paradise. And I will be over here knitting away in my little corner of Parmadise. I'll see you next time, friends. Bye.